Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 14.1A. I've entitled this video, Landforms of East Asia. This video is going to cover pages 432 to 435. Well, let's start with the geography of East Asia. In alphabetical order, we have the biggest country in East Asia, China. Then we have the island nation of Japan. And then we go north of China to Mongolia. And then over in the peninsula here, we have North Korea and South Korea and Taiwan. Landforms and waterways. The landscapes and physical features of East Asia are varied and sometimes unusual. East Asia is home to the world's highest mountain range, as well as a vast plateau that sits miles high. It is also the site of islands created by volcanoes and fertile plains where hundreds of millions of people live. A regional overview. East Asia covers much of the eastern half of the Asian continent. Its eastern boundary stretches along the Pacific Ocean. Bordering East Asia to the north are Russia and Central Asia. To the south are the regions of South Asia and Southeast Asia. East Asia is made up of 6 countries: China, Japan, Mongolia, North Korea, South Korea, and the de facto country of Taiwan. A de facto country is one not legally recognized by other countries. China is the largest country in the region. It has more than 4/5 of the region's total land area. Slightly smaller than the United States, China is the world's 4th largest country in land area. Question number 7. What ocean is to the east of East Asia? That is the Pacific Ocean. Question 8. What country borders East Asia to the north? That is Russia. Question 9. What does the phrase de facto country mean? This is a country that is not legally recognized by the other countries in the world. Question 10. What is the largest country in East Asia and the 4th largest in the world? That is China. At the opposite extreme is Taiwan, the region's smallest country. It is roughly the size of Massachusetts and Connecticut combined. China and Mongolia sit on the Asian mainland, while the other 4 countries occupy islands or a peninsula. Question number 11. What is the smallest country in East Asia? That would be Taiwan. And you can see Taiwan here fits inside of southern Florida. The mainland. Geographers often divide mainland East Asia, which consists of China and Mongolia, into 3 broad geographic subregions. Because of differences in elevation, the subregions are like steps in a staircase. The highest step is the Plateau of Tibet, a vast area of mountains and uplands in southwestern China. The plateau is sometimes called the, quote, roof of the world because of its extremely high elevation. Much of the land sits more than 2.5 miles above sea level. Lofty mountains circle the Plateau of Tibet. The Kunlun Shan range runs along the northern edge, and the Himalaya, the tallest mountains in the world, rise along the southern edge. The Himalaya reach their highest point at Mount Everest, which soars higher than any other mountain in the world. When mountain climbers reach Everest Peak, they stand nearly 5.5 miles above sea level. North and east of Tibet, land elevation drops sharply to the 2nd step in the staircase. Mountains and plateaus dominate this subregion too, but they are generally much lower than those of Tibet. Some of the mountain ranges lie along the edges of enormous basins or natural land depressions. Much of the land in the northern part of the subregion is desert or near desert with little or no vegetation. Land along the southern part of the subregion is forested. Some of the steepest and deepest canyons in the world lie where the land descends from Tibet. Question number 12. Why is the Plateau of Tibet nicknamed the, quote, roof of the world? Because it is extremely high. Much of it sits more than 2.5 miles above sea level. So in a way, it is forming the roof of planet Earth. Question 13. What are the tallest mountains in the world? The Himalaya, sometimes called the Himalayas. And question number 14. What is the highest mountain peak in the world? Above the Himalaya is the tallest peak called Mount Everest. The third and lowest step in the staircase covers most of the eastern third of China. The main landforms in this subregion are low hills and plains. Most Chinese live on these plains. So you can see, here's those 3 steps of China over here, and then here you can see 94% of the over 1,300 million people of China. 94% of those people live here, and only 6% live in this area here. So definitely is an interesting map. A peninsula and many islands. In addition to the mainland, East Asia includes a large peninsula and, running parallel to the eastern coast, a long string of islands. The Korean peninsula is a thumb of land that juts southward from the mainland between the Yellow Sea and the Sea of Japan, sometimes called the East Sea. It is home to 2 countries, North Korea and South Korea. The peninsula is mountainous, especially in the northeast. In the south and west, broad plains stretch between the mountains and the coast. Along the eastern edge of the Sea of Japan, an arc of islands stretches for roughly 1,500 miles. The islands, 4 large ones and thousands of much smaller ones, form the archipelago of Japan. An archipelago is a group of a group or chain of islands. The islands of Japan are part of the Ring of Fire, which nearly encircles the Pacific Ocean. In this area, huge sections of Earth's crust grind against each other and cause earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The islands of Japan were formed by volcanic eruptions millions of years ago. Question number 15. What does the word peninsula mean? Well, as shown here, that is a piece of land bordered by water on 3 sides. So here we see the country of Spain is a peninsula. Our very own United States of America has a peninsula called Florida. And then, of course, for this region, we're talking about North and South Korea. They're on the peninsula shown right there. Question number 16. What does the word archipelago mean? Well, that is a chain, cluster, or collection of islands, as identified here. Or you can use this one over here, which is a group or chain of islands. Either way, it's a bunch of smaller islands sort of clustered together. And in our case, we're talking about Japan. Question 17. What is the Ring of Fire? We've talked about this when we talked about South America. That is the area of the world that encircles the Pacific Ocean. And in that area, huge sections of Earth's crust are basically grinding against each other. And when that happens, when those tectonic plates are doing that, it can cause earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Forested mountains cover nearly 3/4 of the land on the islands. Plains are generally small and isolated. On Honshu, Japan's largest island, a beautiful cone-shaped volcano called Mount Fujiyama, or Mount Fuji, rises about 12,400 feet above the Kanto Plain. Snow-covered Mount Fuji is a well-known symbol of Japan, as you can see pictured here, how majestic. Although it has not erupted in nearly 300 years, scientists believe it could. Question number 18. What volcano is a well-known symbol of Japan? Mount Fuji, or Mount Fujiyama. Question 19. What natural disaster... Oh, we're not ready for that question yet. Let's hold off on that. Japan is one of the most earthquake-prone countries in the world. More than 1,000 small earthquakes shake the country every year. Major quakes occur less often, but they can cause tremendous damage and loss of life. When an earthquake occurs below or close to the ocean, it can trigger a tsunami. This is a huge wave that gets higher as it approaches the coast. Tsunamis can wipe out coastal cities and towns. In 2011, the most powerful earthquake in Japan's history produced massive tsunamis that devastated areas along the northeastern coast. And as you can see here, when we talk about earthquakes, Japan is, between 1990 and 2024, the 4th most likely place to have an earthquake. Notice we're 5th, but Japan is right there. And notice China is number 1. Question number 18. What volcano... Oh, no, I already did that one. Question 19. What natural disaster happens a lot in Japan? Earthquakes. Question 20. What is a tsunami? A tsunami is a huge wave that gets higher as it approaches the coast, and tsunamis can really cause major damage. Here is a slide for Fukushima, Japan. In 2011, Fukushima, Japan had a horrible disaster as the earthquake, which hit a scale of 8.9, caused a tsunami, which caused major devastation. And because they had a nuclear reactor, this was a very dangerous situation that happened to the people of Japan. Fukushima, Japan. And that is question 21. What disaster struck Japan in 2011? Fukushima, Japan had an earthquake which also hit the nuclear reactor. Hundreds of miles southwest of Japan's main island lie another large island, Taiwan. Like Japan, Taiwan was formed as a result of volcanic activity. Mountains form a rugged spine that stretches the length of this sweet potato-shaped island. The spine is actually the edge of a huge tilting block of Earth's crust. The western face of the block slopes much more gradually than the steep eastern face. Broad plains spread across the western part of the island. And question 22, what island nation is southwest of Japan? That is the island of Taiwan. And question 23, how were Japan and Taiwan formed or created? They were also created as a result of volcanic activity. Well, thank you so much for watching. Before we go, I thought this was very interesting. More than 340 people have died attempting to reach the summit of Mount Everest. This makes it the mountain with the most deaths in the world. And to add with that, there is a place on Mount Everest called Rainbow Valley. It is called this because the snow is littered with the colorful jackets of dead climbers. Wow. What a risky thing to do, but some people like the thrill of climbing Mount Everest. Well, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.